A one, two, a one, two, three.
How long have you been a fan of the Stylistics?
Since they first came out. In fact, when we came over here the first time with Elton and Bernie, Dee Murray and myself to do it was the earliest, the first show we ever did in the States, down the street from here actually. The record company told us that they're going to open Tower Records, which over here is a big deal. If Tower Records didn't have it, nobody had it. So they opened the doors and they said, whatever you want, just take it and we'll ship it to you at no charge. And of course that was, to us, it was like, oh, okay. The first album I picked out was the Stylistics. And ever since then, I've been massively inspired by their vocals. Tom Bell and Linda Creed songs, just a godsend, I would say. And the way they sing and their harmonies are just out of this world. And I love doing backgrounds anyhow, so they were a big inspiration to me and the rest of the lads actually. So this has been a total joy to get in here and not modernize their stuff, but just to keep them in the family, so to speak, yeah.
And how do you approach playing ballads?
Ballads, I always use my hi-hat and my sizzle cymbal, which is the big cymbal here, and it has rivets in it, and when you hit it, it's a tsh. And my signature is when I play the hi-hat and the cymbal at the same time, it's the tsh, tsh, and creates an amazing atmosphere, especially on the ballads. And I've been doing it for years and years and years. And just the sound of it, again, puts heart in it. And I love to hold things back. I don't like to rush things. And I play a lot to the lyrics. The old Elton stuff that we did, it was such a joy because of the words, and I could play to the words. If there was a certain thing, there's one song about the drops of rain trickle down the subway train, and I'll do a little fill on the cymbals. And things like that, that just come to you because you're so inspired by the music. I love ballads, up-tempo stuff, yeah, but the ballads to me is something that is very special to me because I can put my heart and soul in it, and it's all from here. Sometimes you just get so inspired that it makes you leave out stuff that other people will put in. You have to have space, and that's my thing, is you leave out and play the unexpected, basically.
And how long have you and Davey been playing together?
Since the late 60s into the 70s and onward. And he's a great inspiration because he comes from a folk background, and he has a special way that he strums the guitar and plays the guitar, especially acoustics. In the studio, when he double tracks an acoustic guitar, it's a whole different dimension because it adds a certain warm roundness to the music, especially on the ballads. And I love ballads. And just such, we're all on the same wavelength. and we have been ever since we started playing together, and helping invent this music from the start. It's just been an amazing gift. A gift, that's what I would say. And you put love in it and play to the lyrics. That's my thing. Well, Dee, my brother, it was just such an amazing time in both our lives to be able to play and not be told what to play or how to play it. And when we first came over here to the States, to the Troubadour Club, we were promoting the Elton John album, the first album, which was basically a symphonic album to me, you know, with the strings, and Paul Buckmaster's string arrangements were just insanely beautiful. And for us to pull off just being a three-piece, piano, bass and drums, and us, you know, doing the vocals, it was an amazing situation to be in, because you had to really plan how you were going to play this stuff because of the light and shade, and kind of trying to get string parts as well. And Dee had this thing that he would do with his volume control, giving the light and shade, you know, of loudness and chillness, and he was a special guy, and we were all on the same wavelength, which always helps. You've got to be on the same wavelength, and I think we pulled it off quite nicely.
What do you think about the song Sad Tomorrows?
Sad Tomorrows. In fact, when I first heard it, it suddenly jumped out at me and said, oh, okay, this is a Nige kind of tune. And again, holding back. And also we experiment with, I love live sounding drums, but to have a natural delay, which would be mics very close on the drums, another two mics maybe halfway down, got to be a huge room with a high ceiling, and then we put two microphones each side of the room, far back from the drums, as far up as we can get them, screw them to the roof, and that gives that natural delay. So when you hit the snare drum, it's like clap, the toms is glip. So and it gives me a whole new atmosphere and feeling of holding back and enjoying the live sound of the room. Plus, I add some reverb to my headphones. So that's basically my signature, I guess.
Pick up that second one.
Rockin' a heartbeat!
I've always been a big fan of Bill. When I came to live in the States, I used to do a lot of sessions. From Barry Manilow to Sammy Davis Jr. to Linda Ronstadt, Joni Mitchell, all these wonderful people that, you know, you only dream about working with. And doing sessions, I was booked not only to play drums, but to sing backgrounds too. And part of the session circuit in those days was Bill Champlin was there a lot. And I was just inspired by the notes that he hits and the growl in his voice. It's a signature that if you hear a record, you know that's Bill singing. And he's an amazing writer of especially ballads, which of course is my forte. And he'd written this song. I was going to do another record for myself, and I asked him if he had any spare songs, you know, handy. And he sent me this one, and it was just so inspiring that I said, I gotta cut this, I gotta cut this. But it, you know, I didn't have a record deal, and it just sat on a cassette in one of my office drawers. And one day I just went in my little room, my music room, and said, oh yeah, I remember this, and put it on. And in fact, my wife came in and she said, what the heck is that song? I said, this is something Bill gave me years and years ago, and I always wanted to cut it. But I think somebody else had covered it, and there was like some deal that we couldn't do it because these other people had done it, whatever. And then it went back in the drawer for a long time. And then when Tom came to put this all together, he said, do you have anything interesting that you would love to cut? And that was the first thing I went to. Played it to Tom and got an instant message back saying, we cannot lose it this time. And yeah, it was, we put double drums on there, and we call it the epic. So I'm very, very happy that Bill was involved in that. And just to sing with him and Tamara, his wife, was a joyous moment. Stevie he had a studio in the same building as Crystal Sound, which used to be the Los Angeles Post Office. It was a huge, huge, huge room, and he had a little studio inside that building. And I cut most of my solo stuff there. And the studio was, the control room was huge, huge. And there was a TV series called Sea Hunt. I remember it very well. I used to watch it all the time. With Lloyd Bridges, I think he was the star in it. And there was a lot of underwater stuff. And I find out that all the underwater stuff was cut in that particular room, which is, you know, was then the control room. And Steve would come in because he was doing songs in the Key of Life, and he'd come in and say, Nigel, come here, I need to listen to something. Tell me if it's any good. Stevie Wonder asking you that question, it's like, hello, I'm just the drummer. And went in and he'd do, you know, play me mixes and stuff, and he said, well, what do you think? I said, Stevie, you're Stevie fucking Wonder. Say no more. And we used to joke together, and you know, I'd walk in the studio sometimes in the building, and he'd already asked one of the engineer guys, what colour shirt is Nigel wearing today? Oh, blue. And then I'd come in and Steve would come over and say, Nigel, that's a beautiful blue shirt you've got on. I said, what? How do you know that? And he says, what, do you think I'm blind or something? So he kind of, you know, he was just so joyful, full of joy, and to play with him with songs. I wouldn't have a click track or nothing. I hate click tracks anyhow. Just play to his nodding head, you know, when he gets in the groove, and he's always moving like this. But to get the end of this particular song, it kind of slowed way down, and so I had to watch how his head was going, because his back was to me. So I watched his head for that delay that he needed at the end of this song. And I was so proud, and I am still proud and overjoyed with Stevie, because he showed so much kindness to me, and he was just a regular guy. And he's, if there was an inventor of love, that would be Stevie. And he had a radio station, actually, KJLH, I think it was, something like that. Kindness, joy, love, and happiness. And I always sign my letters now, kindness, joy, love, and happiness, because it was so heartfelt and for real. And yeah, I'm still inspired. And when I last saw Stevie, maybe 5 years ago, and I tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Hey, Steve," and he said, "Hey, Nigel." Before I was going to say it's Nigel. He said, "Nigel, how are you? Last time I drove you crazy when I started." He loved my drums so much. In those days, I was playing Slingerlands, and we'd done this custom kit, which was all wood, oversized tom-toms with wooden rims, and they had such a great tonal quality. And he loved these drums. So I called Slingerland and said, "Stevie Wonder loves these drums. Can you make him a set?" And I think 3 weeks later, they sent it over to Crystal Sound. I guess he played well on them. Good man. Salt of the earth. This studio has been amazing. I would say that it would be number 2. Number 1 was always Crystal Sound to me. But this room here, and the people that work here have the heart and soul of this place. It's pure magic to work with people who, put so much of their energy. Everybody has their own brand of energy, and these people, they're full of they're on the same wavelength. Let's put it that way. And the room sounds amazing, and the equipment they have here is old school, really old school. And you can mention, I used to use this thing called a Lexicon 224, and they said, "Oh, we have one in the storehouse upstairs." So we've been using that, pulling it out, dusting it off, and the sound in here for drums is just bar none. It's wonderful. Wonderful. And I just sit down and play, and I know it's going to sound great. In fact, on a couple of the songs we did, I put 2 drum kits. We'd do 1 track, and then I'd go back and kind of play to that drum track that I put down. And the sound that creates, especially in this room with the way the mics are on it, it's just so full and right in your face. It's really been a joy to me to be able to work with all these people, all the musicians and the engineering people. I'm blessed, totally blessed. And Tom and Debs, they're pretty cool as well.
You just finished the farewell tour. What was your most memorable live performance?
I think maybe Glastonbury was pretty scary, because looking out in the audience, so many people, and I get so nervous before we go on anyhow. 15 minutes before the show, you can't talk to me because I'm just in this zone. And then, of course, the Dodger Stadium that we did, especially with the guests coming up. I love Brandy Carlisle, Dua Lipa, just such amazing people. And then recently we did, which is soon to be released, a show that Bernie and Elton won the Gershwin Prize for writing. And we had lots of guests come up with us, and to be able to play our songs and the special quality that these guests bring, it was pretty amazing. So, you know, it brought joy inside my tears.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nigel.
You're
Appreciate
very
it.
welcome, and always, as Stevie would say, I wish you kindness, joy, love, and happiness. Love you all. Thank you. Thanks, Tom and Debs. Thanks to the engineers. Thanks to my sister-in-law. Thank you to everybody. And on that note,
Do you sometimes struggle to get up in the morning or wind down for bed at night? I used to find it so difficult. I woke up with no sense of positivity and brightness. I was void of motivation and spirit. This changed completely when I started waking up with a Lumi body clock. These incredible devices mimic the light and colour of a real sunrise and sunset, transforming the experience of waking up and going to sleep completely. Rather than being suddenly woken up with an alarm clock, the Lumi body clock will wake you up gradually with a natural sunrise. The Lumi body clock has been shown to improve the quality of sleep and awakening, and to boost mood and productivity in clinical trials. You can personalise your sunrise and sunset from 15 to 90 minutes with their clinically tested unique natural light and more than 20 sleep and wake sounds. We all deserve to sleep well and to wake up feeling fresh. So if you're finding this a challenge and you want to try a new approach, go to lumi.com